The Honourable Maggie Barry.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Talofa lava. I intend to spend my time today in this call talking about some of the initiatives that this government is taking as a result of the budget this year in the areas of my portfolio responsibilities: conservation, arts, culture and heritage, and seniors. Beginning with the kiwi. Our iconic national bird has been under threat for a long time, and that's to do with the amount of predators that are in this country. My job as the Minister of Conservation is to sign the death warrant on a lot of these unwelcome eco-invaders. Unless we can do that, the 2% decline in kiwi numbers on our mainland will continue to go down at an alarming rate. And in our grandchildren's time, there will be no more kiwis on the mainland. My aim in life is to reverse that decline, and I intend to spend that $11.2 million on reversing the decline so that it is a plus 2% increase in kiwi numbers. This is a tall order. So in addition to pest and predator control, we are going to be working with a group that has been around in New Zealand doing great work saving kiwis, encouraging breeding programs for more than 20 years, and I'm referring to Kiwis for Kiwi. And I'm going to be joining forces with them and encouraging them to make, as an umbrella movement, a sort of a bringing together of all of the groups that have been working independently to save our kiwis. So Kiwis for Kiwi will effectively deliver to the community programs, to allocate the money and to really pull together the programs in conjunction with DOC. And I think that that is the way ahead. We have had some successes in the past year or so with helping our native birds come back from the brink of extinction. Battle for Our Birds has been enormously successful. It is, in fact, the largest ever predator program in New Zealand's history, and it covered some 600,000 hectares of land. We were aiming to save about 12 of our endangered species, mostly birds, but also snails and long-tailed and short-tailed bats. And I'm very pleased to be able to report that the 1080 aerial drops, which were at the heart of that particular program, have been very successful. We've done some measurements around certain birds, for example. We have had not a great deal of success in the past in places like the Dart and the Rootburn valleys, but this year the nesting successes for the threatened mohua or yellowhead have been spectacular, just under 100%. Whereas previously, almost half of these nests in those two areas had failed to produce eggs or chicks which survived. We do need to be vigilant though, and monitoring will continue, and DOC will continue an escalated anti-predator campaign over the next 4 years. The treatment of the rat numbers in particular in areas like Oparoa and Kahurangi National Parks also prevented stoat plagues. So this has been a measure of success that is undeniable, and I think is something that we need to be proud of. I certainly am very proud of the efforts of the DOC workers who have been at the heart of that campaign. Next week is Arbor Day, and I intend to be in the electorate of my colleague and friend Scott Simpson. Coromandel, their beaches are not quite so good as ours on the North Shore, but certainly they have some remarkable natural attributes, so that I'm going to be talking with him about some of the kauri dieback measures. We've spent, as many of you are well aware, more than $21.5 million. Well, that was allocated in the last budget. We haven't yet spent it. I felt that the case for kauri dieback and the need to fight it was so urgent that we have brought forward the time when we can start spending that money, and we have a designated team now who will be focusing on kauri dieback, and I'll be making further announcements of this in the Coromandel next week. But really, when you look at the level of groundwork that needs to be done, it is extensive. The key thing about kauri dieback is that it's spread through foot traffic. It's spread through soil particles being caught up on the hooves or paws of animals, as well as on human beings' boots, and then the spores of the soil-borne pathogen are transferred from places, pigs as well, goats, a number of other creatures. So we're being very careful to ensure that what we can do in terms of mechanisms of advancing education, really. A lot of people don't really understand how it is spread, so we're putting up better signage in different languages. We're putting up more than 500 extra hygiene stations, which will enable people to clean their boots. We will also be ensuring that there are boardwalks that will be built. So that money is going to be well spent in the next few years. We're set to begin this month with a detailed data analysis, including the mapping of tracks, the cost estimates for the upgrades. We also need to prioritise the tracks that need to be either closed or contained in some way. Track closures is not something we do readily and easily, but sometimes it is the only way to stop the spread of the disease, particularly in the winter months, because it is when there's mud that it sticks to the boots and so forth and is more readily spread. So our boardwalk specifications are based on field trials, drainage specifications to ensure the natural flow of water has been improved, and those are the sort of things that we have been planning to do and are now rolling out. We can't, of course, do any of this alone. No one government department, even if it is as good as DOC, can do all of this together by itself, so we need partnerships and collaboration. And I'm pleased to be able to say that regional councils collectively are aiming to commit more than $700,000 per year towards the research programs, local engagement and on-the-ground management. They will also contribute significant staff time, which is very welcome. And Scion also will make a contribution of around $700,000 towards kauri dieback research over the next 6 years, and that's part of their MBIE-funded Phytophthora research program. So these are the sort of measures that we are taking across government. And that brings me to the healthy pursuits factor of the great outdoors. There's a program that started, I think, in Korea. It's been picked up by the Americans as well, and it's Healthy Parks, Healthy People. And what it does is that it brings together international evidence, which really tells people that there is a benefit to going into the great outdoors. A recent study, which the ill-informed members of the opposition might be interested to listen to, is from LTSA. Now, they've put together a report which estimates that walking and cycling saves $2.70 and $1.30 per kilometre respectively to the New Zealand economy in health benefits. These are the kind of measures that I'm talking about with my colleagues across government, because we do need to explore ways of maximising the impact, spreading the word, and getting in a collaborative partnership with other departments and other entrepreneurs, philanthropists as well, because once again, the cradle-to-the-grave mentality that the opposition have peddled so unsuccessfully for so long is not something that the New Zealand populace appreciate at all. What they welcome from this national government is a collaborative approach, not just leaving it all up to the drip feeding of the government, that sort of extreme socialism that means that there's never enough money to go around and we spiral into indebtedness, which is the reason why the opposition will stay on the opposition benches for decades to come, I hope. I am about to declare war on weeds, putting aside the vagaries of the opposition's nonsense. DOC spends around $10 million a year on operational weed control. You might ask why I'm not tempted to spray a bit of a round on the opposition's benches, but I'm not that kind of person. I believe instead we need to target the herbicides and the measures of control against weeds where they belong. Again, it's a collaboration. So we have wildings. Now, wildings, as many of you may well know, are plants that are in the wrong place. They have spread to areas where they must not spread. And the estimates say that about 20 years' time, around about a quarter of our entire landscape could be taken up with these wildings, these plants that have invaded good pastoral land, and we need to hold them in check. The longer that we do not actually spend the money and the longer that we hold back, the more expensive and more difficult the process is going to be. So I envisage doing more detailed work on this program of high priority weed work. We're going to target the dirty dozen of weeds. DOC officials and myself are having a very good time looking around at the various places around the country. Don't tempt me. It's low-hanging fruit over there, isn't it? It's too low-hanging. The dirty dozen in the opposition can look after themselves. But when it comes to weed control, we really do need to get specific. I want to engage the hearts and minds of New Zealanders to join with us in this fight, because the suffocation of our New Zealand native forests, the seedlings that are not making it through to really the stage that they need to be, these are the sort of reasons why we need to try and combat the weed problem. I intend to work with Weed Busters and a lot of other very strong community groups to ensure that we can win this war on weeds. The New Zealand flag consideration, of course, is going through at the moment. Ultimately, the law will come through the Ministry of Arts, Culture and Heritage. We do indeed have many opportunities to look at flags. I will be hosting an exhibition here in Parliament. There's just not enough time in this call, Mr. Speaker, to do justice to all I intend to do. But thank you for your time today.